Okay, so welcome back to this second video of this first lecture where we are going to discuss in more detail the standards from the IFRS S. So first of all, it's important to clarify that these standards are very connected with financial accounting because they come from the people that do the rules for financial accounting. So that also means that the companies that should report using IFRS S are the companies that use IFRS to report for their financial accounting information. So basically, public companies in Europe and a few countries that have IFRS as their main framework for reporting on accounting things. So uh, keep that in mind because everything related with IFRS is very connected with financial accounting information and, of course, also with investors, as we discussed before. So that is kind of something unique that the audience and the goal is to kind of give enough information about sustainability for investors and shareholders, providers of capital. So everything is very connected to money. Um, the IFRS, as I said, is issued by the International Sustainability Standard Board, which is kind of it's part of the group that makes these international financial accounting standards. And the the idea is to have a global framework to report on sustainability since IFRS is global. The idea is to make it global. And right now, we have only two standards, the general requirements and the climate-related standards. We still don't have the governance and the social. We don't have sector-specific standards. We don't have small businesses standards. Maybe those will come later. So right now, we only have two, the general ones and the ones related to climate. So let's discuss maybe the first one, IFRS S, the general requirements. So the idea of this first standard is to talk about and define important concepts that are relevant for reporting. And we have that at the beginning of the lecture. So it is about fair presentation, materiality, the scopes. So if you read this, you will get the definitions of that are important of these very important concepts. But also, this first standard discloses five things that need to be disclosed in general. These are general things about sustainability reporting that you have to disclose. So, five things you need to cover in four, they call it pillars, but basically four different angles or four dimensions. Uh, that you have to unpack when you report. So the first one is basis of preparation. You need to explain in general terms how your organization is preparing for sustainability reporting. Is it based on consultants? Is it based on an internal committee? Is it based on an internal department? Is it based on, I don't know. There are different things that you need to discuss. Another thing that you need to explain is how do you assess the value chain, the whole thing, like not on beyond you as an organization, there are things before and after. How do you assess who is relevant in this value chain? So it's the same thing. You need to disclose all of these things. Second, reporting boundaries. What are the limitations of the report? Like maybe time-wise, like until when, from when, where geographically, different kind of limitations you need to disclose in there. Very importantly, the materiality assessment. What is the procedure to assess materiality? We learned about materiality, like materiality material things are things that are important. And non-material things are things that are not important and we can skip it. How do you decide that that process has to be explained in here in materiality assessment? The same thing, do you have consultants? Do you have a committee? How do you deal with this? And finally, governance. What kind of governance mechanisms do you have? Do you have like departments? Do you have performance measurement systems? What do you have? Do you have uh, different managers or not? Like maybe you are very broad instead of like having a lot of different managers. You try to keep it lean without many managers. What's the strategy for sustainability governance in here? And then each of these topics has to be discussed. You need to open the discussion at least in four dimensions for each of them. So governance, strategy, risk management, and metrics and targets. So governance is basically what is the structure for basis of preparation, what's the structure for overviewing the value chain, for reporting boundaries. What is the structure in the organization that will allow this to happen? You need to state that. What do you have? Second, the strategy. What is, how do you connect this with your business model? Like maybe you talk about the value chain. How is that connected with the strategy of the organization? What is the connection with the business model? Third one, risk management. So which risk, which challenges do you see, and how can you already plan to mitigate them in each of these 5 points? And finally, metrics and targets. How will you measure that you are performing in the right track? So this we will also discuss, these 4 pillars, we will discuss them also in S2 because they apply there too. But let me show you an example of how we can see the application of this thing in something very concrete. So for the example of S1, what has to be reported according to S1? We have the 5 points that we cannot ignore: base of preparation, overview of the value chain, reporting boundaries, materiality assessment, sustainability governance, the 5 things we need to disclose. And then for each of them, we have the 4 dimensions. So governance, we explain what do we have, what structure do we have, the strategy, how we connect that with the normal strategy operations of the company, risk management, how do we ensure that we know the risk and we mitigate them, and finally metrics and targets, how are we sure that we're moving in the right track. So this is a good example for S1. We talk about the 5 things that matter, and then we explain each of them through the 4 pillars or 4 dimensions that are required. So I think that's it for the S1. In the next video, we'll talk about the S2.